Okay, you talked about something about making small changes to a landing page or a sales page until you can optimize it for the results that you want. You're getting into, I think, split testing. Is that what you're doing?
Not really. One of the things about split testing, we do split testing to a degree, but these numbers can often lead you astray. Split testing for your audience is like, you test one headline that says Christo is awesome versus Christo can help you with your marketing if you're a big company. And, how many people click that sign up button right below it? So I'm assuming that second headline where it's a little bit more specific would work better. So that's the kind of stuff we're doing. We're just trying to improve each headline so there's no confusion. A lot of times we'll come to these SaaS products and they'll say, this product is a fusion between technology of AI and human design. And you're like, what does that mean? And instead it says, this is an AI copywriter that will write blog posts for you. Sometimes just being more obvious in a big company, especially if there's a big boardroom full of people writing copy together, it ends up being this jargon that makes no sense. And so people will come to us asking for that kind of thing. We can immediately tell them if they're doing a good job or not. And we can often just replace their headlines and start going through and just making things clearer. We don't always have to split test everything, because think about it. You come to a software company's page, the headline's a little bit different. It's not going to change the page 80% necessarily, but each little incremental improvement will make it better and better and better. So we used to do a lot of split testing, but you have to have very heavy traffic for split testing. Split testing is difficult. Just remember, split testing was very popular when a few years, like 20 years ago, 10 years ago. And the reason is you basically got an eyeball on a page and that's it. Like you couldn't communicate with your customer. Now you know this very well. How do people follow you? They follow you on Twitter. They follow you on Instagram. They follow you on your blog. They follow on YouTube. They maybe see an ad. They maybe hear about you from someone else's Twitter. It's almost impossible to track all that stuff now. There's some basic ways, but it's almost impossible. And so those things matter more and more in today's world. So we want to optimize your page the best we can, but to think that just your sales page is the thing making the difference, I don't think that's the case anymore. So we don't do a lot of split tests because it ends up spending a lot of time like changing colors of buttons and split testing headlines and things like that. In fact, I would implore you, if you have a business and you don't believe me on this, try something interesting. The best way to split test stuff is through email, if you have an email list. So if you send out an email with one subject line that says Neville Medhora Podcast versus one that says Christo Podcast, and see which one does better. That might have some influence, right? But then people really, really stress like, should we say this is a podcast by Christo versus Christo has a podcast? It's just splitting hairs over here. If you do what I call an AA test instead of an AB test, test the exact same email subject line on your email list, you'll get different results. Try it, see what happens.
An AA test, you're saying, well, what's the difference then?
Nothing. Split test the subject line, hey, here's my latest podcast, versus B subject line, hey, here's my latest podcast. The same subject line will often get different results just because of natural variations in audiences and things
I
like
see.
that. Yeah.
This is to disprove the fact that split testing even works. It's like you're doing a double placebo.
So if we use my name in your email subject line versus yours, your audience knows yours better, it probably worked better. So split test would work there. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but a lot of people split hairs so much. I'm just saying if you AA test, you'll be like, wow, that didn't really make a difference. You know what the best indicator of open rate is the sender field. So imagine that my mom sends me an email. She's not really good at subject lines. I'm still going to open it, right? It doesn't matter what the subject line is. I want to hear from her. So that's the most important thing, your sender reputation over time.
So when you're writing the copy and your team is working on this stuff, you just go by, this is what we know it needs to be, and how are you making those decisions?
I think it's experience and keeping up with the current trends. You could see certain things. I mean, but if you remember, like in 2012 timeframe, 2013, there was all these links with like Upworthy.com that were like, this guy did 12 things. You won't believe what happens next. Or an alligator went in this guy's yard. Look what happens. And it's some like underwhelming video. At the time, those types of things were king. I mean, if you're stuck in that era, you'd be writing these spam articles that social media kind of bans now. Like actually, you don't see those headlines because they are actively demoted on social media. You have to keep up with trends. And so what I always do, I have a whole separate email account, and we have like a tool that collects all the email marketing stuff. And we try to see which companies are growing. What are they doing? What are they sending out? What kind of format are they using? What kind of content are they sending out? To try to keep up with current trends. And then also we get to see behind the scenes of so many people's businesses in our community area that we can kind of see what's working. So for example, it used to be you write these incredibly long, the longer the better, 10,000 word articles. What you're actually seeing is Google is like, you know what? People don't want 10,000 words. They just want you to summarize the thing. And so what you're seeing is a lot of the first page results on Google are actually pretty like short to medium articles. They're not that long. And so if I was stuck in, a couple of years ago, I'd say, say, you should write this super long article with everything under the sun about this topic. Now I'd say, actually, you should write just, a summary of it. We keep up with trends like that to see what's working, what's not working, what the current trends are. That's how we kind of keep a pulse on what's working. And also, you know what? Sometimes we're wrong, but usually I can say, I've seen a trend that no one doing this thing that you're doing is doing well anymore. So I could kind of I'm not saying it's a general rule, but at the time, if you send a really long email pitch as a cold email, it's not going to do as well as if you send a super short, maybe 1 to 2 sentence one.